Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. We're going to be going over some of our students' coursework. I'm Tom Blount, I'm a lecturer on the course, and I am here with...
Callum Sporthith, I'm a postgraduate student and a demonstrator on this course.
And...
Ted Cater, I'm another postgrad student and demonstrator.
Okay, Ted, could you tell us about what we asked our students to do?
Okay, yes, so for this first brief, we basically just asked them to develop a small video game prototype with a strong core dynamic and some tutorial to introduce that dynamic.
Excellent, so let's dive into the first one. So, what's the name of the first game, Callum?
Tomb of Balor.
Tomb of Balor or Balor?
I think it's Balor.
I would have said Balor.
Ooh.
So contention already.
We're gonna
Lost marks there.
We're gonna have to add pronunciation to the
guidelines.
Can we maximise this?
Yeah, let's see if we can. So this is the WebGL build. There we go. So WSD to move, and one of the things that we've said previously in some of these videos is we do like it when the instructions are sort of what's the word, diegetic, when they're sort of embedded in the, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so these controls feel quite sluggish.
Is there any sound?
There doesn't seem to be. Oh, but I can dash, which is nice. So
Cool.
I have to dash through the laser. If I just accidentally walk into it, it just bounces me back. So
Okay.
I have to do this to dash. Escape.
So
Escape to
I
pause.
do like the tutorial element so far, but I must admit those lasers are...
Pitch black.
Exactly.
So
It's not what I associate with lasers.
So it is a feature of some of the WebGL builds that lighting effects don't always carry over.
Okay.
So it's possible, if we're giving them the benefit of the doubt, that they are meant to be all glowy and shiny.
Can you dodge diagonally?
Good question. Yes.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got to attack this red thing. Oop. You will not succeed. Okay, nice little... So there is sound on the attack,
Okay.
and the direction we're moving changes that.
It's a nice little spray.
You will not succeed. I still feel like the movement's really, really slow.
Oh, we're in a boss straight away.
Okay. So we've got a green bar and some red bars, and some more red bars.
No real indication... Oh no, stamina and HP, and boss health at the bottom. So stamina...
Okay, I see.
Stamina's the green bar.
So as much as I like the diegetic...
Yeah, it doesn't work quite so well for the UI, does it? So the boss also doesn't seem to be particularly active right now.
Maybe I'll wake up when you... There you go.
Okay, so...
Okay, so you're already being lasered, Tom. You're already losing this game.
Shush.
Right.
Pop.
Okay, so you can dash through the laser.
Okay.
Interesting. So they introduced the dash mechanic before they introduced the dash consuming stamina.
Yeah. And they don't explicitly say it, but given that they've introduced the element, then it sort of works. It feels like so maybe this is just the first stage of the boss. There we go.
There we go.
So
Okay.
we've got some attack the particles to destroy them.
So does it attack in the direction you're moving?
Yeah, which also makes running away and attacking at the same time a little bit difficult. Because that means I have to stop running away from things to... And I've got another one of these, let's dash. The fact that jumping into the boss damages you as well, I mean, I can see why they've done it, but it makes sort of timing that dash quite important. And it's not 100%.
It's interesting. Do you get knocked back when you attack as well?
No, only when I damage it seems to be.
Interesting.
So some
some music.
Yeah,
would
that's
definitely
only
be,
only when I do damage to the boss.
So then,
Oh, Tom.
just tank all the projectiles, Tom.
Oh, so they get absorbed when
they
you
do.
dash into them.
This is my new tactic. Ooh. Oh no, out of stamina. Suddenly problems. Oh, he's moving now. Run. I can't run. I've got no stamina. Oh dear. Alright, somebody else take over. Who wants to go?
I'll give it a
Let's
go.
quickly swap over.
That's an interesting one.
I suppose.
Having to dodge the boss while consuming all that stamina is quite an interesting little challenge.
Yeah, it feels like...
Which button was attack again?
attack is slash, I think, this one.
Slash, okay.
There we go. So yeah, it feels like there definitely should be music to this, right? This is...
Yes. Yeah, I feel like it's a small thing that would add quite a lot.
Maybe just one of the assets hasn't loaded properly or something.
I mean, given they described it as a rhythm-based combat game,
Yeah.
then it does seem like there should be.
I don't think it's
Music
rhythm.
that might
It seems to be rhythm-based, though.
I mean,
I think there being music at the same time as there being combat isn't quite the same as...
Well, I mean, you have to sort of know when to time your dashes, I guess, because you've got that little delay and you've got the stamina.
So even if timing is an important element, I'd associate rhythm-based with a consistent beat or rhythm.
I don't know. Would you say Dark Souls is rhythm-based combat?
No.
No? Because I think that's one of the things they were sort of inspired by when they were making this. You're much
I
better at this
can
now.
see that a lot with the
Sort of
the
dodge
dash
dash
mechanic.
thing.
Okay,
Whoop.
that's just me.
So you've got to dodge through that and dodge through that. He's going to start moving. Run.
It's interesting because
Oh.
I can't work out if this is the game or the tutorial still.
It can be both, right? Ooh. This final stage does seem to be quite difficult.
I mean, just for a tutorial, this seems like quite a challenging boss.
I think that first room was the tutorial.
Yes.
But again, sort of part of the nature of the way they've done the boss fight is like we've already been introduced to lasers, so we know that mechanic, and they sort of slowly introduce the particle the attacks as well.
I like the way they do ramp up the difficulty of the boss as well. It does make it. Yeah.
So overall quality. I don't know if there's anything after this. We'll have to see if Ted can get through this level. If there is anything after this, I mean, we'll have to see. If this is just the final boss, then it's a little bit small in scale, but overall the quality seems alright. The controls definitely feel very sluggish, particularly when you're on this bit of the boss fight and you've got to run away from them. But the dash, by contrast, does feel quite nice and dashy.
In all of the graphically, it's a nice looking game.
Yeah, it's put together. It's sort of a very consistent style.
There's seemingly no sort of major game breaking bugs as well, which is nice.
So yeah, tutorial wise, again the tutorial is very short, but that's because it seems quite small in scale. And if this is still part of like the tutorial and there's more content afterwards, then it's quite punishing. It's difficult to judge really at this stage. Do you want to take the hot seat, Callum?
Yeah, go on then. Should we swap?
Yeah, it's a bit easier.
So what was it?
I actually really like the challenge.
Yeah, it's
Was it space or slash to?
I think
it's whatever button you're pressing at the minute.
Okay.
And
space dashes.
the only thing I would change is how the direction of the attack moves. It would be really nice if it was almost smart and you knew what you were trying to attack.
Yeah, I mean,
Everything closest to you.
But that would be a little bit difficult to do, and could be quite frustrating depending on how it's done. So I think having it in the direction that you're moving is, I mean,
the most intuitive option.
Yeah, but obviously when you're trying to backpedal and attack at the same time, it is quite difficult. So I like that the dash attack sort of seems to do damage to them as well, like at least the particles. So what about core dynamics? So I'll let Callum concentrate on trying to defeat this boss. Ted, what would you say the core dynamic is for this?
Well, it seems kind of like avoidance, like almost getting the bullet hell sort of level styles.
Yeah.
There is that element of survival, which I said people said that it requires a finite resource, which I suppose you have stamina and health, which is.
Though it's not a case of your health is sort of slowly ticking down and gets replenished.
Yeah.
So what did they said it was rhythm and something else?
They said it was rhythm and spatial awareness.
Which
Spatial awareness.
So
I can definitely.
Probably, it fits. So I was sort of umming and erring on the side of destruction, and I think we spoke about this with them in the labs. And they said they definitely didn't want to sort of emphasise that side of it, which is why you've got the more sort of dashing and sort of avoiding this sort of laser and the rings and some of the projectiles.
Doesn't feel like the gratuitous destruction you'd associate with a destruction core dynamic either.
But in which case, like the whole point of the game is to destroy this boss, and it does feel a bit like sort of just slowly chipping away at it.
Yes.
It's not like one of these boss fights where you have to sort of use the level to. So the sort of cliche example is the sort of the Minotaur boss who you have to sort of get
Bait
sort
into
of
the
goad
walls.
into baiting into a wall. Yeah. So I wonder if they could maybe have done something more with that. So like goading the boss into following you into a trap that then you can dash out of or something. If they really wanted to emphasise that spatial repositioning side of things.
Feels really.
Oh, the fact that it pushes you all. Yeah. So when you touch the boss, it pushes you that way. Or sorry, when you take damage, you take a lot of knockback, and then it pushes you through a bunch of different things.
I think that was just mean.
That was just me.
So what was that game that was originally developed for Lude of Dare, but then they later went on to they turned it into a full game, and basically you would walk around ruins, and in each room in the room was a unique boss, and you had a single arrow. That you have.
Oh,
what's that called?
I don't remember. There's a couple of games like that, and I think it's definitely that sort of style of thing that they're trying to emulate, I think.
So one slight criticism I'd have is I think I'd like a little bit more signposting before some of the boss uses some of its attacks.
Yeah, so that laser that you got killed with on the last run was very sort of just, I mean, it was just a laser drag to the face, wasn't it?
In particular, where it says run and then the boss tries to charge at you.
Yeah.
You
need that whole sort of, like that sort of Minotaur clawing at the ground and then sort of slowly winding up to do a charge.
Yes.
Stamina. So this is quite difficult.
So I'm going to say,
the laser keeps changing speed.
Yeah.
So that is just really, really hard to actually.
The simplistic design of the boss is kind of nice graphically, but it means there isn't a lot to sort of telegraph what it's about to do next. Except for these ones, because they start in the middle of its eye, you've got a lot of time to tell that they're coming.
Yes. So I like those. It's mostly the dash and the fact the laser doesn't check if you're there before starting to.
I don't think it has to check. It just has to telegraph it somehow.
Yes. But yeah, generally it seems like quite a nice game, man.
So yeah, overall, so how well do the mechanics tie into the dynamics? So I mean, the mechanic of the dash obviously is the sort of really core one for the spatial reasoning side of things. The attack sort of detracts from it because we're having to sort of stand next to this boss and chip away at its health.
Whilst simultaneously trying to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. So this bit feels quite static because you're just standing there and chipping away at it. I think you have almost found.
I think I found a glitch here.
Oh,
there we go.
That's fine. Guardian defeated, press R to restart. So it looks like that was the.
So one criticism of their spatial awareness or spatial reasoning mechanic, dynamic even, is I don't feel that playing it you have to do much reasoning about the space. There's dashing around to avoid things, but.
So I mean, it has elements of it. It's more sort of a reaction-based reasoning rather than a sort of careful, methodical planning. I think that's okay. It's just there needs to be more of that element to really sort of hammer home that dynamic. So we spoke about like sort of avoiding those lasers and those attacks is good, but it would be nice if there was something like that you could use to defeat the boss rather than having sort of just stand there and chip away at it.
Yes, and if it did a bit more with forcing you to actually move around that space. Rather than, for example, attacking to destroy projectiles.
Yeah. But overall, I think it's very nicely put together.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so let's move on to the next game. Okay, our next game is called Adventure. So let's dive into this one. Okay, do you want to take the helm on this one, or?
Sure. Okay.
So tell me what you think you're supposed to do right now.
I'm supposed to sit very confused, staring at the screen, Tom.
So this is
interesting. It's
so I think the controls are in there somewhere. So I think that up arrow is probably. Does that mean jump less?
Oh, okay.
There's no mention of the left and right. There's a thing saying collect this key. There's something saying control, but I'm not sure what that is.
So the first criticism I'd say with those.
Okay.
The first thing I would say about those elements is the collect, control, resurrection. Text is all very, very. Did you just kill that by jumping on it?
Looks like
that's so that's something that's not immediately clear as well.
Which is, I mean, it's fine. It's not explained in Mario either, but the way Mario does it is it designs the level around expecting you to do that, and it introduces these concepts one at a time.
It's true.
So I collected something. So,
but what I was saying about the collect, control, resurrect elements was that they're very, very disparate. It's not immediately obvious that they're tutorial elements.
Yeah, absolutely. And that resurrection sort of, it's completely different to the collect ones and the control, and all of it feels very sort of just cut and paste together from some other things. Whoop. The controls also don't feel super tight. And one thing that has come up a few times in this series so far is if you're going to make me restart the level, then use the same method. So if I'm controlling your game with the keyboard, make the key to restart the level also on the keyboard, because I'm able to switch between keyboard and mouse. Okay, so I've picked up that. So yeah, that's kind of interesting as well, that you touch the first aid kit and then a potion pops out that you have to collect, rather than just collecting the first aid kit.
It almost seems a little bit unnecessary unless they've done something with it later in the game. Wait, do you have rockets?
Yeah, so I picked up some grenades, and now I have rockets, and also that's sticky keysing me a bit, and it's stuck.
Okay, if you're stuck there infinitely firing rockets, that seems to be
That's fine.
not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I collected that,
Do you go into the...
and then you go into the house. But again, it's not like that door opens. There's no...
So it would have been better if they put the key before the house, for example, to demonstrate that.
Yeah. On the other hand, they demonstrated that I couldn't go into the house until I'd collected the key.
This is true.
But there was no... So I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go off to the right side of the screen, or whether like something had been unlocked. So something sort of saying, exit unlocked would have been nice there. So
it's very, very dependent on that sort of collective knowledge of video games. It expects you to have played a platformer before, for example.
So what would you say you guys think the core element is?
difficult to say. So I'd say probably just spatial reasoning, because it's a platform and platforms are usually that. Maybe collection, because we're having to collect those keys. But again, it's a little bit unintuitive. What do you think?
So in their notes, they said that the core element is actually destruction. That there is an element of collection.
Okay, there's certainly an argument for that, because we've been given this rocket launcher.
But they contradict themselves a little bit, because they also said that in level there's a situation where the player can play the game without defeating any enemies.
So that's exactly what I was about to say next. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any reason for me to kill these enemies. So I don't have the rocket launchery grenade power up this time. So defeating, especially these bouncy ones, looks like it's going to be ridiculous. If I can even get there. No. That jump's very unforgiving, because this platform here, I keep knocking my head out. I tell you what, you're better at platforms than me. You give it a go.
So my first thought is similar to what we said in the last game. The controls feel very, very sluggish.
So make sure you're looking at this screen, otherwise it will feel very sluggish.
Okay, it's slightly better on on that one. Right. So let's just see if we can do this without. Can I? Thank you. Okay.
So again,
that is incredibly unforgiving.
But also, why does it? It shouldn't take us back to the start of the game here. It should take us back to the start of that level. If this is still, unless this is the entire tutorial, and then we're moving on to the rest of the game.
So I still think that would be.
It feels like
there's no reason for us to make us repeat the tutorial. So one of the things we mentioned in the tutorial lectures was quick iteration cycles. Don't punish your player for missing one jump. Whoop! You made it.
Yeah.
What? The spacing on these is very strange.
Yeah.
So I don't really see how I'm supposed to get past this guy without... So I didn't die there, interestingly.
So interestingly,
Is that a glitch?
his jump pattern's also totally changed now.
Yes.
And now we're back here again.
So it seems like occasionally just touching them is enough to kill them, and occasionally...
Occasionally they kill you, I guess.
Okay.
You stuck?
Yes.
Okay.
Come on. No, I'm not getting out of this.
Sorry, just succumb to the inevitable.
So yeah, the level design feels...
Well, you didn't kill that guy.
Despite jumping on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the level design feels quite... almost untested.
Or tested by the developers enough that they can make that jump perfectly every time. But again, one of the things that we've mentioned in these development cycles is get other people to play your game, because it's fine to test it yourself, but you will quickly become very, very good at your own game, which makes it difficult to tell, is that jump just a little bit too unforgiving?
So here's a question. Let's test out that resurrection potion, see if it actually does anything.
So actually, that's an excellent point. I hadn't even thought about that, but I have no idea what that does.
It just seems to be a thing that you... So if I go down here and let him jump on my head.
So that just resurrects you at the beginning of the thing once you've got that.
Okay, so if I go down there now, is he going to...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so it does do something, but again, there's not a whole lot of indication what it's going to do, or the fact that we now have it. Like,
okay,
yeah. So there's nothing to say, oh, okay, you've got one free death
Additionally, and this may just be personal preference, but it feels like just going back to the start of the level really should just be the default rather than requiring that resurrection potion. Resurrection potions also don't work if you run off cliffs, which is interesting.
So that's the point. So yeah, so the grenade-y, missile-y things don't carry over into this level. How would we know if the resurrection thing had? I mean, it obviously doesn't because.
Well, you say that, but I got hit by the enemy a couple of runs ago.
Yeah, well, okay, so
it sent me back to the start of the second level.
So it might work on enemies, but not pits.
Yes, and I think that's what's.
So it's very, very unclear from like the visual design what is necessarily going on.
Right, there we go.
Okay.
So
you need to
just go this way.
Oh no! So the jumping pattern is they do a couple of small jumps,
Okay.
and then they do these big jumps. So you then have to sneak under it.
Okay, so I just jumped on that guy's head and he did not die,
Yeah.
and then he killed me.
Okay, so quality-wise, aesthetics, the aesthetics go. The sprites all work quite nicely together. It'd be nice if maybe there was some sound or some jump effects. There's
The animations are all right.
the UI, particularly in that sort of first tutorial level, is a bit of a mess. It's not entirely obvious what the things are going on. They're all sort of thrown together at once. And that sort of brings me on to sort of the next bit, which is tutorial level wise, yeah, they don't really introduce those elements gradually. They sort of throw everything at you.
And none of them are particularly well explained in terms of their actual. So it says how to collect them, but not what they actually do within the game.
Yeah.
Oh, right. See if we can.
And that doesn't have to be entirely through text. You can quite easily do that through your level design. But that means you have to base a couple of tutorial levels, or make one quite long tutorial level, that sort of takes enough time to focus on each of those individual elements. Oh, that was close. But now you've got to jump back up.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah.
We got stuck in some terrain there.
Oh yeah,
go on,
good to go.
So yeah, let's go back to talking about the core dynamic improvement. So they said it was destruction.
I just don't think there's enough to support that.
And that's the thing, there are elements of destruction in there, particularly given that we get these missiles at the start, but then they take the missiles away from us in the second level.
Yes.
And there doesn't seem to be... There are no...
Okay, so also the collision box for the...
Yeah, right. So while you can still kill those enemies by jumping on them, it's not the focus of the game. The focus of the game is getting to that end. And you could emphasise that in a number of different ways. So if you wanted to emphasise the race to the end, then put a time on it and make sure we get to the end as fast as possible. If you really, really want to emphasise the destruction, then instead of having us collect keys, then make us kill all the enemies before we can get to the end.
It does seem like it's pulling in a few different directions here. While the collection mechanic does support the spatial reasoning quite nicely, there's just not enough destruction in it for a destruction game. Particularly when
I can't make this
I was
jump.
going to say, can you make that jump? Let's see. Oh. Nearly.
So there's definitely some very interesting things going on with the terrain collisions as well.
Yeah.
My jump just didn't work there.
That's the controls do just feel a little bit spongy in places, don't they?
The difference that having very, very tight, very responsive controls versus sort of quite slow and slidey controls is sort of night and day with games like this.
Yeah. So we made it game complete.
Okay.
So despite taking us this long to play, it is quite small in scope.
I'd say the reason it took us so long was quite possibly because of how many bugs we encountered more than anything else.
Yeah. So yeah, they definitely had some of the elements of a good game in there. So you could put those things together, develop them a little bit more, polish them, spend a little bit more time on each of those different mechanics. But as it is in this state, yeah, it feels like this game isn't quite sure what it wants to be. Okay, shall we move on to the next one?
Yep.
Okay, our next game is Momentum. Do you want to take the helm on this one, Ted?
Yeah, sure, I'll give it a go.
So
it looks like they've separated out the tutorial.
So we've got how to play and practice and level select. Should we go with how to play to start with? Oh dear. Okay, so fairly basic tutorial. So we've got A and D, or left and right arrow keys to move the player, space to jump, red surfaces reset the level, blue exit takes you to the next level. Bounce off the walls to prevent from falling.
So I think the first thing I've got to say about that... Oh, is that the how to play?
That's the how to play.
Okay, right.
So,
my tongue.
so we'll see if the game has any sort of more sort of tutorial gamey elements as we go. Okay, so
Oops.
control your speed in the air to land on platforms. See, it feels like that control screen, how to play, is actually a bit unnecessary. All we needed is at the start of level 1, a thing saying A and D to move and space to jump. Because we'd very quickly find out that red platforms are bad.
Yeah, the game doesn't give you much choice on that. I like the
Oh, nice.
quick iteration cycle though.
Yeah. So you can jump on a wall and start to say reverse your momentum.
So this already seems like a little bit of an unforgiving level actually with each wall jumping.
Yeah. So I maybe would have not had these red, these sort of death walls
Yeah,
on this bit, just make the player go up this level.
it very much seems like it might have been hard enough just to get up the walls.
But again, it's short iteration cycle, so we're not being sent right to the beginning. We do get a chance to.
Getting sent right to
It's one. Yeah,
It should
infuriating.
definitely be far more forgiving for.
yeah. For this tutorial, while you're just explaining the first concept of wall jumping, this is a little bit. It feels like you're almost having to be pixel perfect here.
So it does seem like if you wall jump just right with timing, you pick up more speed.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to do that though.
Especially since you seem to need to gain a bit of height there rather than.
Alright, so what?
Do you want to give it a go, Sam?
Fine. Alright, so while I'm going to inevitably struggle at this, what do you guys feel about the sort of the overall quality of it?
I mean, having not played it yet, it visually seems very nice. The
Controls
It's a
feel-
simple aesthetic that works.
Yeah. So I actually quite like sort of this aesthetic sort of as games go. Even though it's very, very simple, it's really all you need. And as just a quick prototype, it sort of simplifies some of the visual elements. So it's very clear that, okay, this red bit is bad, the blue bit is good. And that's all we need to know at this stage.
I think
Controls-wise...
we've got another example of over-tested by the developers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure if we put them in front of this, they would do it first time.
And I don't know if this is a bit of an assumption, but I feel like the whole momentum mechanic is actually an afterthought, because
It's
of
just to
poor
do with the
controls
physics.
in the platformer. Yeah, and it's just something that came up from using the physics engine.
that is an interesting point. So it does say it says you reverse your momentum, but it doesn't say explicitly what that momentum is. So it's taken us several iterations to realise that the speed actually increases as if you time it just right.
So I will say the controls by themselves do feel alright. They feel very responsive. They do feel a little bit slidey and floaty, but
Yeah, the previous level was really difficult, even for a second level, just because, especially controlling yourself in the air.
I think that is
It does say in their brief that movement is acceleration based and controlling your speed is important.
and that's the thing. I feel like it is probably a deliberate design choice. So yeah. So I think the fact that it's a little bit slidey is okay, but I feel the level design doesn't really make good use of that. So the first couple of levels had very small platforms, and it didn't feel like there was much. It was almost like you were having to sort of fight against the momentum of it rather than using it to get through the level.
You want as much momentum as possible, like a speedrunning game or something.
Yeah, exactly. So tutorial-wise, yeah, the control screen I don't think was super necessary.
Should we have a look at the practice level?
Yeah, we could do. Can we just restart? Or
M for main menu.
M for main menu? Oh, there we go.
That's nice.
Let's practice. So yeah, while I'm playing around with this, what do you guys think the core dynamic of this is?
Well, that's got spatial reason anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Is that what they said it was in the
It is
report?
indeed.
So far, I mean, certainly that's the one it fits the most, but there's not a lot in the mechanics that necessarily go towards that. I mean, obviously you're having to reason about your speed and make sure you can get in the right position, but that's the end of the practice level.
But yeah, I see what you mean. There's not
So
there's not a huge amount to reason about, and particularly with something like finding a route to a level.
So I will say this is a nice touch. We did mention that we are notoriously bad at platformer games in some of these videos, so I'm glad they put in this level select. So let's try this one. This already looks a little bit.
So they did say that the first 3 levels are the easiest levels.
Oh, good.
So,
well, I think I disagree. Oh, I
Again,
jinxed it.
This doesn't really seem to involve your momentum.
it is very, very centered around the wall jump mechanic. Certainly, this level in particular.
But you're
But
right.
you're right. The momentum isn't playing a huge part in this, is it? It's just
A lot of it is sort of, it does feel sort of a bit flow breaky because I'm having to sort of let myself drop down a bit and then sort of guess roughly where I'm going to end up on the jump so I can make the next jump.
I feel like with games like this, it's a good level if you are holding down like right or holding down a direction all the time and your momentum never really stops. It should be really, really fluid.
so if the levels were designed, the mechanics were designed, so if you had to constantly pick up speed,
Yeah.
that might be a good use of that. So
Well, it looks like,
that's that.
so this feels like that sort of level, but
I think you're supposed to wall jump to break your speed,
Or not.
or you could just do that.
See, this is more like it.
this
is-
feels more like what we were expecting. If a little bit unforgiving.
Maybe get a run up as well.
Yeah. So the jump doesn't always seem to trigger when I'm expecting it to.
So this is doing a little bit more with the spatial reasoning as well, particularly with saying certain walls are off limits, certain walls are on limits.
Yeah.
It's definitely,
Yes,
you're right, the
it's
jump
whether-
seems quite buggy and unresponsive.
But unfortunately, I'm not sure they've. So you know, if they've got the pillars, the size of the pillars in certain places are sort of available for wall jumping in theory.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think they've actually used it in the level design. Have they?
Overhang, okay. Nice.
So one thing I might like to see with a game like this would be, while it is a linear level, having it be solvable in sort of quite a few ways.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of a design choice that you make as a developer, and if they've made a different one, I don't think it's too bad for this. Okay, so this is interesting. I think I have to jump down and then back up. And if that's the case,
I think you could just jump up. Wouldn't you?
I don't. Do you think? Oh, and then do that. Yeah, maybe. So I was going to say that if that was the case, then they've actually sort of tutorialized that in the level design quite nicely with this bit. Oh, can't do it anymore now. So overall, I mean, the difficulty curve seems
Almost there.
So the curve itself seems about right, other than getting stuck on number 3. It's definitely getting more challenging as I'm going on, but it does feel that it gets very difficult very quickly.
It's quite a steep difficulty curve.
Yeah.
I feel like the responsiveness of the controls, for me personally, is the thing that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see we have started discussing how to actually solve the level as well, which I think is,
Yeah, it's a good sign.
yes, it certainly doesn't hurt when they put it in spatial reasoning.
I'm going to skip this one.
There's
John
quick.
Crack.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, that's what we got.
Put you on my way.
Oh, you're so kind. So, wait. Okay, so what are the actual controls are?
A and D to move and space to jump.
Oh, I see what you mean. They are very, very strange controls, aren't they?
This one.
Even so, they are strange.
Yeah, they're very sort of. So they were saying because of the way they've done the movement through acceleration, that's why they feel a bit slidey. But again, that's sort of a design choice, and that's okay. But it does feel like the level design doesn't necessarily take advantage of all of that. Except, so there was that level where you were sort of dashing through pillars and you were having to jump at the right points, and that felt good because we were sort of accelerating our way through the level. Whereas this one is a lot more sort of stop and start again. Whoa, nearly.
This is quite the challenging level, actually.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's a little unfair that we just dropped you straight in. Ooh,
I mean, that was just you, Tom.
okay, I dropped you straight in it. So how?
Nope.
How are you meant to do that?
Carefully.
So yeah, it's a good sign that. Well, okay, I take it back. I was going to say it looked like once you'd sort of figured out how to solve this bit, then you were sort of more.
It is getting easier.
Yeah, which is again, it's a good sign.
So I'm not quite carrying myself over that fast enough.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel totally inconsistent. There are definitely it's definitely we are as we play it, we're getting better at mechanics.
Which is definitely a good sign.
But yeah, how do you feel the mechanics feed into the spatial reasoning one? The fact that they only really have one mechanic, which is red platforms are death. Or rather, that's the key.
That and the wall jumping as well.
Yeah, true.
I think the momentum-based movement and the wall jumping is just completely disjoint, which makes the level design suffer a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it hard to design a level that sort of encompasses both of those things smoothly.
I mean, it did seem like on the first wall jumping level that the momentum did carry on, but because they haven't revisited that since, it's been that first level had slow wall jumping, so fast wall jumping, and the rest have been slow.
That's like particularly here where we're having to sort of only jump against the one wall.
Yeah.
Right, do you want to skip this level and have a look at the others?
Not particularly, but I suppose we should.
Well, that's
Carefully back.
So this is interesting because this time we're going in the opposite direction. Every other level has had us basically going left to right, right?
But this is actually a different level.
This is the same level backwards.
It's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same.
It is.
It is the same.
I think the gaps are a different size.
No.
I think it's just because you're looking at it from a different angle.
Maybe.
I quite like that. I think that's like a fun idea.
Yeah, it's a neat trick. So I didn't actually realise it was the same level until you mentioned it, but it makes sense.
It's actually easier the second time around.
Okay, so
Well, this just looks horrible.
I was going to say this looks like it's going to be more of one of these levels where you are sort of throwing yourself through the level with your momentum, that kind of thing. But
It's going to go this way.
But again, because you're having to sort of slam into the wall and then jump over that little red bit on the top of it, it makes it feel like we're having to stop and start a lot.
Yes.
Oh, and I feel like you didn't actually collide with the thing though.
So it's interesting because it's sort of it's as you slide over the. You can sort of, if you don't quite clear the top of the obstacle well enough, it's not just you can't land on it, but you've got to clear it with some height as
land
well.
on the same side and then jump to the next one.
Yeah, I think so, and use your sort of momentum to spring yourself off of it. But the problem is, because you've got that acceleration pushing you that way, it's actually very hard to go back in the other direction. There we go.
So I don't know where I'm actually meant to go after this.
Over the other pillar.
Ah. Well, this laptop is also getting searingly hot.
Yeah, it does that. So I think this level is actually not so bad because it does sort of have this sort of slow-paced thing where you have to sort of stop when you first hit the thing, but the idea of sort of trying to sort of vault yourself over the pillar and then spring off of it,
Yeah, I quite like this one.
that fits the mechanic quite well, I think.
So I don't think to be honest, I think in general it's a bad little wall jumping game. It just seems strange that they've got this.
There's just a couple of bits of polish and where they could make some of the puzzles a bit more forgiving, I think, yeah.
Yes, very much so. They could.
It'd be nice if maybe there was a little bit more to it. But they've got a good number of levels, and and the levels do follow a difficulty curve, even if we think it's a bit steep.
I mean, and there is a very clear. Most of the time, there's a very clear progression of difficulty, but
yeah, it'd be nice if the tutorial was a bit more. Sort of showed us how to do some of these mechanics a little bit more. So the wall jumping, for example. So if it started off with us, ooh,
there
nice.
you go, nice.
Good one. So if the tutorial started us off with that wall jumping and say a narrower gap where we just have to go up to reach the exit, and then they sort of say, okay, here are some red bits and things like that. Sort of introduce that through a bit more gameplay, so stretch it out a little bit more, I think. But otherwise, yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and I definitely think it emphasised the spatial reasoning elements much more as the levels went on. Cool.
Alright, let's move on. Okay, our next game is Survive the Swarm. Let's have a go. So,
Take the wheel, Tom.
alright, I'll take the wheel for this one. Play tutorial. I don't know why there's a big X next to the tutorial. That already makes me a bit nervous. Do I just press Enter? Space? E? So,
X, press X.
Press X, maybe. No.
No.
Click. Okay, so to start with, hey, we've got some sound on this one. So that's just a toggle, I guess, at the start of this. But the fact that I have to use the arrows to select which one and then click to go through feels a bit weird. Okay, so again, we've been thrown into the game and just been given all of the controls at once. So we've got... Do they actually mention the movement controls? They do not.
Reload.
I feel very slow compared to... These zombies feel faster than me.
You'll see 28 days later.
True. Alright, so the problem is we've been given so much information straight away, and this is the tutorial.
I think as well.
So that's the thing, they're not making me do any of these things.
In terms of pacing as well, it's not giving you actually time to digest any of this information.
Yeah, exactly.
It has just thrown all of these initiatives at you.
Okay, so one of the objectives is to equip every weapon.
Oh, okay, so that's actually an objective. So they are making me do it, but it's not... So that's the thing, I'm not paying attention to any of... Whoops. Let's go reload again.
So you're now out of ammo as well.
Sorry, I've got other guns apparently. But yeah, because I'm constantly getting attacked by zombies, I'm not looking at the objectives window at all because I don't really have the time to. Also, this shotgun feels a little bit weak because they're taking this many shots. I guess I could be using it in a better way. So, equip every weapon, so that's why we're not progressing. So I've got, is that just a flashlight?
Torch, yeah.
Good. And just a knife.
Is your health actually going down?
No, because tutorial. And that, for which I'm very grateful.
Yes.
Okay, you have to kill a weapon with kill a zombie with every weapon, so I think it's just the knife you have to
Oh, okay. I don't have to kill somebody with the flashlight then. So that's... Does it look like I'm doing damage? Right. Oh, hang on, melee attack. It's shift. There we go. So why does this have a different...
Yeah, if you have to equip it...
Yeah, let me just see. So I've got the pistol.
You've now completed all your objectives.
So I can melee attack with the pistol.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a primary and secondary attack for each of them. But it feels like the knife, the primary attack should just be stab.
Yeah.
Or it should use both.
Okay, so press...
So yeah, we've ticked off all of the objectives. Let's move on to the rest of the game. I like that it does let us carry on in a safe environment to sort of check the rest of the mechanics. It's a little bit weird that R isn't reload, just because that's what I'm used to. But
I will point out though that
also they've not mentioned what any of these power ups are. I'm guessing they're ammo for different guns.
Well, it's got a little sprite of the gun on it.
Yeah, but given that it's quite dark and quite small, it's a little bit difficult to see.
So I was going to say, one thing they actually do is they've talked about how they actually reduce the lighting over the course of the game to force you to use the flashlight.
Okay, that's interesting. But what use is the flashlight if I can't shoot while I'm holding it?
Yes.
It doesn't help me to be able to see things.
I think part of the problem again comes down to the speed of those zombies. You don't actually have a way to mitigate them other than kill them all. And that makes changing away from something that can kill them a very dangerous prospect.
Yeah, if there was a level that I sort of had to navigate and it was like a maze of twisty, turny corridors, and I had to switch to the flashlight to get through it, but occasionally a zombie would show up and I'd have to very quickly switch back to my weapons and stuff, that might make it feel more meaningful. We're out of ammo again. But aesthetic-wise, it's not too bad. The
music really fits into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just sort of like very creepy sort of background music. Like the guns all have sort of quite distinct sounds. I like the sort of the chuck chuck of the reloading shotgun. That's quite nice.
It's maintaining its frame rate as well in the browser, which is always nice to see. Yep. There's no immediately game-breaking bugs so far, which is also nice.
I'm going to have to try and spread this ammo out as much as I can, because it feels like I'm not getting it at a rate as quick as I'm expending it, and I don't want to rely on
light.
it.
It's just a bit smaller.
And that's right.
But again, you don't really have the time to switch to that flashlight without getting mauled by 1,000 zombies. Okay, so right now you are actually running slightly faster than the zombies.
It's just when I sort of get trapped in a corner like this and can't move. It'd be nice if the melee attack did a bit more of a sort of shove, I think.
I feel like the aesthetic gets even better as the light gets smaller.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the core dynamic?
Let's. What does it say it is?
What do you think it is?
I'm going to say survival.
It is spatial reasoning and prediction. According to the
Really?
So,
Do you want to have a go at this?
Yeah, sure.
Because that's almost disappointing, because we've had so many games that say they're survival and haven't been quite, and I feel this one is actually a really good example of a survival game.
yes.
Because you've got both the health and the light that's sort of going down over time. There's no final state. You're just delaying the inevitable, which is what survival games are all about.
Destruction would also be an appropriate one for me, particularly since the aim of the game is to kill as many zombies as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
However, they've said spatial reasoning because of the need to sort of outmaneuver the zombies and make it to the weapon power-ups and things.
I mean, there are elements of that, but it's
It's
definitely not the core dynamic of this game.
I mean, the aim of this game is definitely not to avoid zombies. It is quite distinctly to kill them.
Yeah.
If this was a
If they had interesting movement patterns, then
Yes.
maybe you'd be able to argue that. But
Or like I was
or
saying
even if it
before about
was,
that, the
you know,
level being sort of slightly more mazy and twisty and turny.
yeah,
or even if maybe you only had the knife and you had to sort of navigate your way around through the zombies.
Yeah.
But again, that would be a completely a different approach to emphasising their spatial reasoning.
Yeah, but the approach they definitely emphasise here is survival. Like
Definitely.
the limited ammo, the limited health, the limited light. It all really, yeah.
It almost feels like they could have gone a little bit further and changed the score to a sort of time survived or something.
Yeah, that would really round out the trifecta, because you're right. The minute there's a little bit of what's the word? Conflict between the survive and destruction ones. I think it's not too bad because the destruction really just feeds into prolonging your life and surviving as long as possible. But yeah, the fact that your scores are for killing rather than surviving a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I would certainly won't say they contradict one another. They work quite nicely in tandem, but it could definitely emphasise that survival more.
But that's the thing. The fact that they've said it's prediction to me says that they haven't quite understood what we mean by core dynamics. So they say prediction is because you're trying to predict their movement patterns.
Yes.
But they don't have
They
like,
just they
set
move
movement
towards
patterns, they
you.
just move towards you. So it's a very standard sort of top-down shooter because you're constantly backpedaling and shooting and things like that, and that's fine because they're zombies and zombies have simple movement. But there's nothing to predict.
It feels a little bit like they tried to retroactively fit the core dynamic to the game. To some extent.
Yeah, which seems a strange thing to do. So let's quickly touch on the tutorial again because now I'm not playing it. I
Sure.
can actually talk about it more sensibly.
Should we refresh the page and go look at the tutorial again?
Yeah. So I think it was. That's a good point. Can we maximise this while we're here? Where is that? No.
I think this might be maximised. Oh no. Interesting. Let's give this a shot anyway.
Yeah, you have to mouse down to hit the tutorial and then click on it.
Oh, so I'm not actually in the tutorial
You're
right now.
actually in the tutorial.
So if I die, will I be able to get to the tutorial?
Yeah, probably, but I wouldn't bother doing it. It's like
So what are the controls are?
WASD, click to shoot, space to change weapon.
So
How do I reload?
Right click to reload.
Oh, okay, it's not
the
hard.
list of objectives was something really nice that we haven't seen before. Or I've not seen because I was there for previous Let's Plays.
So sorry, in some games previously. Doesn't matter.
But like I always like it when it's just a different method of really drilling home. This is something you have to do. So we do this thing X amount of times.
Yeah.
But
I feel they should have.
Then them one at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a. But, yes, it would have been an interesting way to do it because because you've got these endless waves of zombies, you sort of need almost, because it's a tutorial mode, for them to sort of say, okay, now we're going to spawn some zombies, try and do this.
Yeah.
So how
Oh,
do
I
I...
didn't quite manage it that time, here's another way. And sort of give you time to read all of the instructions. Because they do just put all of the information on the screen at once, and then you have to just sort of...
So here's an interesting one. There's no more zombies spawning. So I can just run in circles indefinitely.
But you're not getting points.
Yes, which does slightly contradict that survival thing.
To an extent, yeah. So maybe if the zombies got slightly faster over time...
Oh, there we go.
Oh, no,
They are still
Okay.
spawning.
that's all right then.
That was interesting.
But yeah, so the tutorial, having the tutorial environment and particularly letting you carry on practicing with it was good.
They've made a slight mistake with the movement code, which is very, very common, which is if you hold 2 keys at once, you move faster. It's a very, very easy thing to do.
Because you just sum the velocities.
Yes. It does give me a slight advantage here.
That's interesting. And yeah, you can see the light is definitely dying over time. But again, what incentive do you have to switch to that flashlight?
Oh. Especially since it does cost you valuable shooting time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no point being able to see them.
Oh, other than that.
Other than okay.
Okay then.
So yeah, that whole dying light really does mean that even if you are really good and you've still got all of the ammo, there is a very good chance that you are just going to inevitably die. Like even with your slightly sort of cheaty glitchy run around in circles, you do get that inevitable end, which is why I say it's definitely a survival game. So yeah, now Callum's doing the tutorial and I can actually sort of sit and read it. It's quite telling that this is this feels to me like the first time that I'm reading the tutorial. Because when I was playing it, I was too busy just running away from zombies and pressing keys around them to try and do something.
So I have genuinely spent the last 20 seconds just looking at the text while running in circles to try and understand what to do. Okay.
Yeah, waiting until the player's ready
Yeah.
to actually...
So that's it. A lot of these objectives, the zombies don't need to be there. So just switching weapon once, like that can be done before you spawn any of the zombies.
That's already throwing too much at the player.
And then spawn the first time you spawn a zombie, just spawn the one zombie. I mean, you can even sort of like really emphasize it and instead spawn like a static target and say shoot this target, now reload, now do this, and then spawn something that's potentially dangerous.
Also, the shotgun and the pistol to me almost feel the same because it takes the same amount of time to kill an enemy.
Yeah. So they do have the
The machine gun, which is
so the shotgun does have spread, so technically you can hit more enemies at once.
Oh, does it? So you can hit multiple...
But it seems to fire more pellets at once, but
Something
because
like-
of the way they cluster like this, it's not actually that useful.
So if I'm just trying to get a chance to...
You see what I mean?
Not really.
Well, that's what I mean. They sort of group together so much, they stack up on top of each other, that it's quite difficult to tell. I do like the fact that the power-ups glow slightly. That's
Yes.
because it means that when the light does start to come down, you can still just about see them.
Though again, the power-ups being dropped from the enemy does more emphasise destruction than survival.
True, but again, it's sort of like there's always going to be some amount
side
of
by
overlap.
side.
And the fact that it's things like health and ammo, which are these ticking down resources.
So let's use the flashlight for a bit.
Yeah, or it's something like if zombies move slightly slower in the light, maybe, or something
Just
like that.
some purpose for this flashlight, because it seems a little bit like when the lights go out, you are more or less just dead. Especially if you're actually trying to kill them rather than just cheating and running in circles.
Yeah. Okay, so overall, it's quite a nice game. It's a shame they don't seem to have totally understood the dynamic, but I think despite that, they still have they still put together a really nice game.
I think with a little bit more polish and tweaking, a little bit more playtesting, it could be really quite something. Yeah.
Okay,
But it's different.
so is there anything else you'd like to say about this one?
Nope.
In which case, I think that was our last game of this batch. Thank you very much for watching, and we will be back soon with another one of these videos.